Hello and welcome back to the second episode of Endeavor Explains. This series is an endeavor to bring you informative insights on the important global happenings. Today, we are going to speak about the Russian crisis. As 2022 began, the global economy appeared to be on a predictable course. With businesses reopening, labor tightening, and prices rising, many central banks around the world were poised to begin unwinding the fiscal and monetary support they dialed up during COVID-19 pandemic. Now, Russia's invasion of Ukraine has dramatically changed many of these assumptions. It's taken a human toll of tragic proportions, driven energy and food prices higher, and created macro uncertainty around the world. Although Russia and Ukraine are relatively small in output terms, they are large producers and exporters of key food items, minerals, and energy. The war has already resulted in sizable economic and financial shocks, particularly in commodity markets with the prices of oil, gas, and wheat soaring. The moves in commodity prices and financial markets seen since the outbreak of the war could, if sustained, reduce global GDP growth by over 1 percentage point in the first year, with a deep recession in Russia, and push up global consumer prices inflation by approximately 2.5 percentage points. While the Ukraine crisis has undoubtedly altered Russia's position in the global order, the crisis might have a larger effect on the domestic, economic, and political development of Russia. It is in this area, however, that the crisis may exert a longer-lasting influence over Russia's future. Following weeks of mounting tensions, Russian President Vladimir Putin ordered a land, sea, and air invasion on February 24, triggering a wave of financial restrictions that have plunged the value of the ruble, skyrocketed inflation, and left many jobless. According to the Ministry of Economics, annual inflation in Russia jumped to 12.5% as of March 11. The Russian currency has lost an estimated 20% of its value over the past month, triggering many retailers to raise their prices. One of these is Procter & Gamble, which raised its prices by an average 40% because of the higher costs in logistics, materials, and the drop in ruble. Female hygiene products now cost as much as 30% more. To contrast cost increase, retailers committed to a 5% markup of basic goods, including dairy and some vegetables. While sales of drugs are not subjected to sanctions, prices are expected to increase, though not as much as other goods, after major shipping companies halted their services to Russia. After some hesitation, Western nations agreed to remove some Russian banks from the SWIFT international payment system, meaning companies like Visa, MasterCard, and others would greatly limit their services. Such a move, coupled with other sanctions, could cause Russia's economy to contract by 10%. While official numbers are yet not available, the closure or departure of a large number of multinational companies such as Apple and IKEA are expected to have a significant impact on the employment figures. US fast food franchise McDonald's lamented the fallout for about 62,000 people employed at 850 restaurants in Russia before halting its operations on March 8. An analyst quoted by Commerzant estimated an inevitable fall in wages and an increase in unemployment of about 7% by the end of 2022. In the international community, Russia will be a pariah for a decade or longer. Although most international sanctions would be removed if an agreement between Russia and Ukraine is reached, some sanctions may remain. Most significantly, Western businesses will not invest in Russian projects or joint ventures even when legal, for fear of another conflict, perhaps with the Baltic countries or elsewhere near Russia's southern border, would deter long-term deals. Without Western technological investment, Russia's oil production will continue to deteriorate. Russia, like most other countries, pumped oil from easy locations first. Now the best opportunities to replace declining oil fields lie in difficult territories such as Siberia and in shale deposits. In both cases, oil production requires technology beyond Russia's internal expertise. Without Western joint ventures, oil production will decline in the coming years. Russian manufacturers will similarly be shunned by Western companies sourcing components for complicated equipment such as cars and machinery. Businesses fearful that another conflict would serve as supply chains and will ask themselves why bother with Russia at all. The world will also be a little worse off as more companies choose to shorten their supply chains. Complex global supply chains lower production costs when they work well. Multinational corporations learned about supply chain fragility from the Japanese tsunami and the Thai floods. Then the COVID pandemic tangled supply chains like an unruly snarl of yarn. Now we learn that two countries that are not manufacturing powerhouses still make some components critical to the other country's businesses. The switch to shorter, more domestic supply chains will not be sweeping, but at the margin, when a business purchasing manager sees costs not too far apart from domestic versus foreign products, the decision will go to local sourcing. Within Russia, businesses selling to the domestic market will see foreign sources of products and services as unreliable, leading to local sourcing at higher cost and lower variety of available goods and services. This problem will reach down to, for example, small farmers. Buying a John Deere tractor without sure access to repair parts is a bad bet. And plenty of Russian-made tractors come with engines from Cummins or Mercedes. That will also apply to computers and machinery for small businesses across Russia. Although Russian agricultural production and sales should be fairly safe, the overall economy will weaken and the Russian people will be poorer for a decade or more. However, while the Western sanctions are causing obvious deterioration in Russia's economic performance, many economists argue the effects are likely to be modest. Their argument is that by strengthening status and conservative factions within Russia's policy elite, sanctions are likely to weaken the more liberal and reformist factions within Russia. In the long run, this may well cause Russia to turn away from its post-Cold War reintegration with the global economy and instead adopt an increasingly statist and autarkic model of political economy. As one of the world's largest economies, as well as one of the largest exporters of energy, this would be an extremely unfortunate outcome. While a more optimistic perspective is that the world has been trending toward more peace, as seen by the evidence that Steven Pinker lays out in the book The Better Angels of Our Nature. Thus, we hope the harsh effects on Russia of Putin's attack will dissuade other rulers from invading their neighbors. That's all for this episode. Stay tuned to our channel for more such insightful updates.